Go to Steve Emerson now. Hey, Steve, how are you?
I am sorry about that.
That's all right.
Technology.
Yeah. I know. Please, it was without it we couldn't live, but sometimes we have to put up with it. Okay, so Ahmed Katala, the U.S. government, according to CNN, has an arrest warrant out for him. It's under seal, or it's an indictment, or whatever, for his role and his group's role, Ansar al-Sharia, in the attack on the embassy in Benghazi. Who is this guy? And, CNN interviewed him last week. I mean, everybody's known this guy's had involvement, correct?
Yeah, apparently. I'm trying to open up my files on him right now. Apparently there has been a Interpol secret arrest warrant for the last 4 months. And then the United States itself, Justice Department, issued an arrest warrant within the last 6 weeks that was sealed. The question is, where is he now? And the other question is, how many others were indicted? Because I've been told that at least 3 others were indicted as well.
Okay, yeah, all right. So all part of that group, Ansar al-Sharia?
Ansar al-Sharia, right. Although, just for the record, they deny it in their Facebook posting. But I attribute that as much credit to the credit I give to Pee Wee Herman.
Well, depends what Pee Wee Herman's talking about. But that aside, okay. So here's what I'm afraid of, and here's what I started saying right before we got to you, Steve, is that now the administration, and if this has become public, they're going to go around saying, "See, president's on the case. He never stopped. We're hunting these people down. We're going to get these people." When in fact,
well, first of all, what month is it now? August?
Yeah, it's almost a year. Yeah,
a year. Okay. Number 2, an arrest warrant. First of all, this guy was held in Tunisia, one of the recipients of hundreds of millions of dollars, and we were never allowed access to him. Number 3, he had been hanging out in Libya for at least a month and a half in Benghazi after the attack. Again, we were not allowed or didn't pursue him. And number 4, what about all the answers to the questions about what happened that night? I mean, what was the ambassador doing? Why wasn't he protected? What were the other agents on the ground, 35 of them, doing? Why weren't they protected? Why wasn't there a mission sent from Tripoli or from an aircraft carrier? None of those questions have been answered.
Oh, I am with you, and that's why I say my fear is that the media. We just had on a guest who poo-pooed all that, Ambassador Daniel Benjamin, who worked for the State Department as coordinator for counterterrorism, and he said, "Oh, I think the media is in a frenzy. All these questions have been answered by the government report that answered the questions." And
did you ask him when he left government, Daniel Benjamin? I think he left government after the Benghazi affair. If that's the case, he's partly responsible. So what would you expect him to do?
Well, no. What I was going to say was I begged to differ with him, obviously. Yeah, but my point is I'm just afraid that this is all going to, they're going to use this as a reason to not even address any of those other things. All right, let's now here's something else. Here's something else, and this is interesting, and this takes us to Egypt. John McCain is in Egypt. And Lindsey Graham, of course, wherever John McCain is, Lindsey Graham is, and vice versa. And they're standing there, and McCain calls the ousting of Morsi by the military, he called it a coup. And
he called it a coup?
He called it a coup today, which flies in the face of the administration. And wait, I'm not finished. So at the State Department, spokeswoman Jen Psaki, with a P at the beginning, I don't know if it's silent or not, told Matt Lee of the Associated Press after he asked her about what McCain said. She said that the U.S., get this, quote, has determined that we do not need to make a determination, end quote, over whether or not the ousting of Morsi in Egypt was a coup. So they don't care what anybody calls it because they decided they don't have to decide.
No, I have to tell you the truth here. I mean, there are certain, things that have been turned on their head. One, the fact that Saudi Arabia and UAE sent up to $12 million to stabilize Sisi after he overthrew the Muslim Brotherhood is a great testimony to the fact that the Saudis recognize the danger of the Muslim Brotherhood greater than we do.
Absolutely.
Number 2, McCain has been pushing for the Muslim Brotherhood in God knows how long. He went to the Muslim Brotherhood when Morsi was running and proclaimed him to be a moderate, somebody we can deal with, even though Morsi was a guy who was tweeting and writing posts on his blog that Israel was the devil incarnate and the United States was a Zionist part of the alliance, should be destroyed. I mean, I think that McCain has got a couple of screws loose, to tell you the truth. And number three, I give the administration credit. Earlier this week, John Kerry, the Secretary of State, said that the rise of Sisi was an evolution toward democracy. And that really was an evolution toward democracy. So for the first time, I want to give the administration credit.
Yeah, yeah, you have to. But of course, they have indicated that the Muslim Brotherhood has to be involved in any future elections. Muslim Brotherhood this, Muslim Brotherhood that. But getting back to McCain, I mean, he was one of the ones. I mean, he went to the floor of the Senate when Bachmann and the four others wrote that letter questioning Umar Abedin, and he just, how dare you? That's not who we are. We're America. We don't question people's connections. How dare you? I love Umar. We know Umar. I mean, what is wrong with him?
You don't have enough time for me to go into that, okay? There's a screw loose, and more than a screw loose. I mean, if there's anything up in his head, he has come out on the wrong side of history on so many things. I mean, I remember a year and a half ago, and Andy McCarthy wrote a beautiful repost to his entreaties to the Muslim Brotherhood. He went there with Lindsey Graham. Lindsey Graham at least repudiated part of what he said, but McCain stuck to his endorsement of Morsi and the Muslim Brotherhood as moderate, as pro-Western, as people we could deal with. All three, I think, he struck out on.
All right, one more. We're talking to Steve Emerson, the executive director of the Investigative Project on Terrorism here on the Steve Malzberg Show. Let me ask you about this threat. We have now revealed, either by accident or on purpose, when I say we, I mean our government, leaked it or whatever, that we've intercepted the head of Al-Qaeda's phone call, and that's how we found out about this pending attack, imminent attack. Do you believe that there's a threat equally as big or greater here on the homeland, and they're just not telling us? Or they think that it's overseas and in the homeland, and they're just not telling us? Because do you believe that this threat is going to involve chemical gas? Or because when I heard Peter King say that he is scared, that he's never seen a threat like that, it really shook me up and got me to thinking. But again, we're telling them how we got their information, which we're insane.
Which is ridiculous, number one. Number two, we're allowing them to dictate our behavior. Suppose this is just a dry run. Suppose they're issuing this fake chatter just to see the way we react. They're perfectly situated now for the next time to determine where our vulnerabilities are.
Right.
I don't think it behooves a great nation to cut and run like this, okay? We should be standing up and basically not allowing ourselves to surrender and wave the white flag. Now, I don't disagree with the Congressman Pete King, who's no friend of the administration, when he says that the raw intelligence showed him that there was a threat. The only question is what our behavior is and how specific the threat was. I don't think it got the specificity of saying exactly where it would be located. Initially, they said 19 U.S. embassies or the Middle East. Now they're sort of extending it, but I don't think that extension really is predicated on the intelligence that they receive.
Yeah. All right. Listen, Steve, I do appreciate it very much, and I thank you, as always, for staying on top of all this. We'll speak to you soon.
You got it.
Take care.